that's totally right, and that's also what we're kind of doing here, trying to explore and just see what the heck this can be. And one idea or kind of theory that I kind of is very interesting to think about is that if an alien civilization were to visit us or try to either communicate or just actually do some simple reconnaissance, looking at the place, checking it out and so forth, I guess the best approach is to look at what we are doing right now. We are actually sending robots or some kind of probe to another planet to see how things are there. And my idea is that some of these things actually might be either robotic in nature or similar, some kind of probe that is potentially have some kind of semi-artificial intelligence or something like that, and that they actually are from another place, but they're sending them here to check it out. And especially around a time that is so turbulent at around World War II, when a lot of fighting is going on, so to speak, this would be kind of an event to really look at or really have their eyes focused on this. What do you think about an idea like that?
I've heard it, and it's definitely a possibility. I mean, the Foo Fighters, could be drone aircraft, could be the early drone aircraft that, like we use today, highly advanced aircraft that were, like you said, robotic in nature. Leonard Stringfield, when I spoke with him, many times he thought that the high degree of observations and level of what was taking place around the world was in regard to the testing of the atomic bomb. He thought that was a pivotal moment.
Mm-hmm.
And he felt that because of that, we were being visited at great numbers.
Yeah.
But he did not realize the extent of the observations prior to his sighting. He was aware of the Foo Fighters in 1945 through the intelligence memoranda, but he had no idea of the extent of the sightings that were being observed and reported. Of course, it was compartmentalized.
Mm-hmm.
And he definitely felt that the war was bringing whoever or whatever into our atmosphere to find out what was taking place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the theories, I could have approached this book in many directions, but I really wanted to approach it and the book to read like we were in the 1940s in terms of, as it happened, this is what was being thought.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way to do it, because in a way speculation is that's the a show like this or some other is a good place to kind of ponder upon the idea, so to speak. But I guess that what you've been focusing on is just what did the military report and what some of the people involved in this actually thought of it afterwards or think about it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show that there was definitely a phenomenon in existence, that there was something very unusual being observed. And, of course, we could leave it to our imagination what that could be. And, of course, German technology, it leads the list. But it just doesn't add up when you break it down into individual cases.
Mm-hmm.
But what hurts my case in terms of showing that it wasn't German technology will be argued is because I can't provide the actual mission reports of what was seen, these greater reports, ones that were very, very unusual.
Mm-hmm.
So all you have are the testimonies of the veterans. And I'm in no position to call them liars. I'm in no position to say that you didn't see what you saw. And it was a classic example that exists today. When the story of the Foo Fighters broke, it was January 2nd of 1945. And what happened was, AP reporter Bob Wilson had been assigned to the 415th Night Fighter Squadron. He wanted to be the first reporter to fly over Germany as January 1st came in of 1945.
Mm-hmm.
But due to the weather, the aircraft were grounded. So he was there with the 415th, drinking, playing cards, having a great time. And they said, "You want a story? Let us tell you about the Foo Fighters." So it was his story that broke and made it to the major press. And so, of course, Time Magazine, Newsweek, New York Times, around the world, we're now hearing the term Foo Fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuck. And it was his story that actually started the whole generation of skeptics in terms of the scientists were saying, poo to the foo, you're seeing optical illusions, there are flares, and then, of course, the pilots were getting highly irritated that they were being ridiculed because they were there and they were trained observers. Many of them were cool in combat even. So they knew the difference of a flare. And they knew the difference of many of the operational aircraft and weaponry that Germany was sending up. So to be told that they were not observing something to the best of their ability, I guess for better words, that was definitely a problem for them. And so they were very upset by it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, when you're looking at these reports, and I guess with a little bit, in regards to that you have a background of a sighting of your own, do you think that, you know what it is we're looking at here? Do you have a theory that you want to share with us?
Well, I would love to learn that we are being visited by extraterrestrial life. That would be a remarkable discovery. Over the years, I've become tempered, and I realize that it's a very, very grand statement or a thought, and I need to back it up. And in my mind, it seems very, very plausible and very real. The phenomenon that exists around the world today is rich with material that dictates we're dealing with something very unknown. But you can always throw in everything that you say, the aspect of technology, advancements that are not known. But I find it hard when you start dealing with strange cases like the Travis Walton abduction case in 1975, where multiple witnesses observe something. They all take the polygraph. They all pass. All scared. They have nothing to win by making themselves look like fools in the national press. And so with my sighting, I know it scared me, and I know it scared the pilots that I spoke with in World War II. And I can only go on with what I know now, and I can't find or seem to find any information that shows that there is an explanation.
Well, why is it possible for you to explain why you were afraid when you saw this thing?
Well, the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and it was just a reaction. Like I said, I was 11 years old. I was out constantly, outside playing ball and riding bikes, and like I said, seeing something in the air, I never had any kind of reaction to it like that. It was so unusual to me and so different that my immediate gut reaction was fear. And that really left an impression because I couldn't get in my mind what I was looking at. It just didn't make sense to me. It didn't seem like something like that would be there. And so that led me to believe, well, what could it be? And of course, over the years, I read, and of course, the weather balloon, and then all that type of explanation filtered in, and I thought, well, okay, maybe, but, I've seen a weather balloon since then. I've seen balloons, and I never had the initial reaction I did at that time.
Have you seen anything like it since?
No, I have not. No, and it's funny. I'm always looking, and I have seen nothing. Years, so it's a very unique experience that I've never duplicated.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned briefly about one abduction case and so forth, but is there anything that indicates that something like this could have happened back in the days of World War II, that people actually were, taken off planes or close to military base, actually was abducted or taken away or missing for a long time? Anything like that?
I have not come across it. I think, for some reason, in the back of my mind, I've heard stories. I think they're more civilian related in the war years.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I have not come across any veterans or the documentation, or I just do not recall anything that really discusses that issue at length at all. It was pretty much I mean, I guess the other than observation, there was one case that I know of that the crew felt heat from the observation, aircraft or wherever it was, and that was over Salzburg, Germany, or coming back from Germany, over actually Italy, and it was a captain of the U.S. 15th Air Force, named Captain William Leet. Lone wolf mission, assigned to go in, take out a target, and get out. Just one aircraft, one mission, just harassing. And his crew observed a perfectly yellow circular object, and it was sitting off their wingtip. They didn't see where it came from. It was just there. It paced their aircraft for like 50 minutes, and it switched on and off like a light bulb, and then ultimately disappeared. They estimated it was probably 10 feet in diameter, but of course we're talking about night again.
Sure. And
it got close enough at one point where a crew member actually felt the heat of the object as it passed by. So again, there shows that there was probably a physical aircraft of some type involved.
Yeah. With all the different projects that has been run, at least throughout U.S. history in regards to this Project Saucer, we have Project Sign, developing into Project Grudge, and eventually the Blue Book thing. How is information from these projects? Is that accessible at this point, or is this still very hush-hush and blackened out in the pages, so to speak?
Yeah, well, there's really very little, if any, mention of World War II in those projects. It was pretty much 1947, 46, and on. What I tried to show was that they were actually the successors to a project that was already in existence. At the very earliest that I can really account for, it started in January 45 with Robertson's investigation. Many of the researchers or people I had been dealing with said, World War II was an incredible time and upheaval. There was not enough manpower, money, or resources to put into investigating UFOs. And I thought to myself, well, yes, that absolutely, but I refused to believe that because I had heard there were investigations through other researchers through the years. And so, of course, when I found the Schaeff investigation, that showed me that, oh yes, if the Foo Fighters were causing enough for General Eisenhower to say to a scientific advisor, let's look into this, and we have a huge amount of sightings that preceded 1945, there had to be an investigation. And so I am sure that Project Saucer Sign was really an extension of something already in existence. However, for whatever reason, since the public was being inundated with sightings during 1947, they were able to keep the wartime sightings closed off and kept secret, which is amazing because, the 1947 sightings were a lot of war veterans were seeing these too. They entered civilian life. So I would like to find the actual project name. I think there is one in existence, but that still remains to be found.
Well, exactly. I mean, it is the big, question again here is, the documentation that you've been going through is the one that is, at this point is public, but then we of course have all the other potential documentation. We might even have, as you said before, video footage or camera footage, photos and so forth.